All right. Hello. Welcome to the next installment of my video journal. I did miss a few days. Things just got busy. Had to do stuff with my family. But while I was there, I wasn't able to record, but I was able to build some stuff. So I thought I would just go through this and kind of share kind of like my approach and some of these new things I made. I don't remember if I showed this one to anyone, if this isn't a video yet, but basically what I was trying to do was imitate shadows in Minecraft. So, there's a light source from the sun, it's cast on the building, and then this part is not hit by the sun, so it creates a shadow. So we're kind of adding shaders to Minecraft without using actual shaders. You'll notice I use some tricks, like to get this face darker, I use banners to cover up the side, to give the illusion of like a darker part. I want to experiment with this a lot more. There's one more example of me doing this. It's not particularly good, but this is like a great example of how I would do it and how I go about it. Can't remember if I showed this one either. I'm not really proud of it. But sometimes I like to use banners to give the illusion of the half timbering. So in medieval buildings, what they would do is they would, take the wooden posts, create the frame, and then fill it in with wattle and daub, which is basically a mix of whatever muck you can get to stick to a wall, and then becomes the building. And there's these hanging signs. These kind of give like a more curvature to it, a sense of depth and like something. This is a very experimental one. This is what I'm actually really proud of. I just wanted to make a very standard medieval building. This could be, you could build this and it would fit in any time period from 800 CE to like even beyond the Middle Ages. People built homes like this. So you'll notice the new updates out use these tough stairs to build these tiny holes inside the wood. I don't think they would carve the holes in the wood themselves. That would kind of take away the structural integrity. That's something that would be, I guess, a historical inaccuracy. But the tiny windows, that would be accurate. And if there were larger windows, they would cover them up, when they needed to. Nothing on the inside, of course. It was pretty spacious. There's a lot you could do with this. Looks a lot bigger on the outside than it does on the inside. And this is probably my new favorite thatched roof design. Over here, kind of take it a little too literally using actual straw. But if you use like the stripped oak wood, it looks a little bit more like a thatched roof, which I really like. This will probably be my go-to build when I eventually do my survival series. And I'm going to try and make, I guess that brings up the survival series. What I want to do in the future is eventually make authentic medieval style, an authentic medieval Minecraft world. So there will be I'll take as much inspiration as I can from historical sources. I'll look at manuscripts and stuff like that, and I'll read some papers and watch some professors and try and build as authentic as I can a medieval world. Of course, there will be some things. Sometimes you have to take creative liberties. It's just because of the restrictions of the game. And sometimes you just want to make something that looks cool, so you kind of abandon it. But the major source of all of the inspiration will be from history. And I'm hoping to kind of expand outside of the Anglosphere, I guess is what you'd call it. Make sure to include basically as much of the Eastern Hemisphere as I can. I'll want to incorporate some stuff from the Middle East, some stuff from the Islamic Golden Age for sure. Some stuff from... We'll see if I get that far, but I might include some stuff from India. I haven't done anything related to India. I think that'll be interesting. And I'm really excited to build stuff from like the Kievan Rus and the Byzantine Empire. There's some really exciting architecture to build there. So that's the tentative plan for now. So kind of like the orange bark on this. It gives it like an authentic color, authenticity. Not that bark is orange. Anyway, doesn't matter. Been staring at this forever. This would be just a Roman building. I don't know a lot about Roman architecture right now. I mostly have been building in a medieval vernacular or a Romanesque style. That's what I've been doing, like over here and over here. I'll elaborate more on that later. But one thing that I'm going to need to include is a lot of both Roman buildings and Roman ruins, because a lot of medieval manuscripts reference using old Roman buildings or even like adding onto them in the medieval period. So like this is a complete kind of, if not like adorned, like this would have been painted and there would have been different stone and marble probably, things like that. But this is just the basic shape of, I would believe to be a relatively realistic Roman building. In the medieval period, there would have most likely been ruins. The dome would probably not be intact, but they would likely use some portion of this and add on their own parts, their own structures, and their own style, just to not waste, Roman engineering, I guess. So that's something I'll incorporate in future. There's a lot of examples of medieval people adding on stonework to old Roman ruins to make them complete again or serve a different purpose. So we'll do that later. Just a hut. This is something you'd find in Scandinavia. Just the sod roof mostly. You can find some examples of this in Scotland as well. But it's just dirt roof, logs. This, of course, can only happen in a place where we have straight, long pieces of wood. So pine trees mostly. Deciduous trees like oak and birch. Like oak trees and like willow trees, stuff like that. Those are too curvy to be used for a log cabin. That's why we get these half timber buildings, because they're able to use smaller hypothetical pieces of wood to fill in the gaps. Anyway, this is one that I'm really proud of. It's kind of a generic Romanesque probably a monastery building. A couple things to note. I did the shadow thing. I did not decorate this wall. I did add sort of a fake shadow line on the ground. I'd probably do it a little more better next time, but this side is darker than this one. That would mean this wall would be extra bright, but a couple things to note. I use the stained glass to give the illusion of like shading, the kind of transition starkly different colored blocks into another, to kind of like, it's like mixing the paint on a canvas. It's kind of what those do. Note the windows. In 1.21 update, we get these trapdoors. These are really great for shaping windows and like smaller details, and they're kind of the best color we have to imitate stone for at least trapdoors. If you look at the, let's type it in. If you look at that, this is great for like whitewashed buildings, but sometimes we want to just have a plain stone, and none of these colors are particularly close, but the exposed waxed copper trapdoors probably do the best job of transitioning from stone to using shaping stuff as stone. And it's really great with this kind of face on it. So another thing to note is that it's terracotta. It's probably not made out of actual terracotta. I just thought it was a really good kind of earthy tone that they could have mixed into the whitewash to give it a pretty color. Just imagining like this is part of a monastery and the monks wanted to color it, and perhaps they chose this color. I think that's something you could get from natural hues in nature in large quantities, enough that you could paint a face of a wall with it. So that's kind of why I made it that way. And there's some cool like weathering from like water trickling down. Like this could be like a really wet place, and that's causing the moss to grow, and then the weathering of the tiles on the roof. Same here, and then all of that drips down. That's kind of my thought process for the building. Seen this one. Yeah, here's just an illustration. It's obviously not perfect, but these are very gray. Like the green parts of this are transitioned pretty close to the stone. The green parts at least, and the copper is at least related to like granite. Like, and stuff like that. It's really close to those colors, which makes it good for shaping in that way. For this gray stone, it's kind of the best we have. I really want them to add a gray stone trapdoor. That would make so much building easier, but for now, when we gotta make these special kind of windows that we see in Romanesque architecture, gotta use that. So you can see the green works actually surprisingly well, but it sticks out pretty bad. It looks a little bit too woody, and there's like a pattern on it. Dark oak blends too much with the shadow of the back, and oak is just gross. Like, would never use that. So that's why 1.21 is a good update. This was a work in progress. I didn't really like where it was going. I kind of gave up on it. It was supposed to be an Anglo-Saxon timber church. Obviously, None of them exist. We've got one existing example of a wooden church. It's Greenstead Church in England that is using wood. And it's these long piles, or it's just these large logs hewn and shoved in the ground like this. I'm loath to use that more often because I was watching there was a video lecture on YouTube I watched about Anglo-Saxon wood architecture from archaeology, and because this is the only existing example, perhaps there's a selection bias and this wasn't particularly common in the era because of its exceptional existence. That might be because of the correlation. Anyway, there's a whole reasoning behind it, but this probably wasn't particularly common. We don't really know what their houses of worship looked like, except for the stone buildings. This is one I really liked. A little more authentic than all these upstanding buildings. A lot of medieval buildings would probably been built into the earth. For one thing, insulation is really good. Earth is a great insulator. Dirt. The second thing is less material, I guess. Nothing really in here, but it's also a really unique style. You don't see people really build with this dirt stuff, but I think it looks really cool, and it's something I don't think you would have came up with if you were building like a fantasy world. This kind of idea wouldn't really have came out. It's from, if we take inspiration from the people of the past and how they used their materials to maximize their comfort, we'll find we create these like really interesting buildings that are almost as cool looking as buildings we find in fantasy worlds. Obviously, it's not like super majestic, but the idea, it's kind of like interesting. And I did a few proof of concepts of those because I really liked it when I saw that. Here's another one. I don't like it as much. I think I gotta stick to the lower steeped roofs. I think that looks a lot better. Forgot I had the zoom. Also got world edit, so that's good. That'll make buildings go faster. Yeah, here's another example. I don't like it as much. Another kind of concept of it. Also, I don't like as much. Same with this one. This one's not that bad, actually. I kind of like this one. It looks a little more... It's got more of like a stone. Like, maybe I could... In fact, I think I'll do that right now. Instead of dirt, I'll add some mossy cobblestone. And... that'll be interesting. Yeah, it's a little better. You can kind of imagine someone stacking rocks up along the side to like give it some thermal insulation and then creating the wall inside of the actual pretty part of the house. Just a palette. This was an idea I had. This is definitely more fantasy. I don't think I'm gonna continue working on it just because I think it's a little too unauthentic. And maybe, like, just imagining, like, this could exist, but I don't think the dirt really works. So so I kind of just stopped it. Here's an idea for an Anglo-Saxon monastery part of a building. So you see, whitewash with this goes really well. And a really nice ornate window set. No backside. Don't look at that. One thing that I added, though I don't think it looks really cool, it kind of illustrates an important point. This is based on a surviving Anglo-Saxon building. I don't remember what it's called, but one thing I did is like, it is existing today and it's all bare stone. One thing we do know is that they would have whitewashed it, so there would be a covering of lime on it, so that's where the white color comes from. But we also forget that, like, wood doesn't survive. So it's certainly possible that there was a wood structure attached to a lot of buildings that we see that are made of stone today, and they just simply didn't survive. So to kind of illustrate that point, I added a wooden structure to the side. Is this accurate? Probably not. It probably would have been more substantial, and like adding this wood entrance to it doesn't really serve any additional purpose, but it's something I'm probably going to start implementing in future builds, is like wooden sections onto this. Anyway, last part. This is based on an old Roman building that was repurposed by the Merovingians, and that is still in use to this day. I don't remember what it's called. It's also a French name, so I can't pronounce it. But in the later era of the Roman Empire, a certain type of building that was really prevalent was the basilica, which is this very long rectangular shape. There would have been an apse at the end, a little like semicircle kind of thing. Kind of imagine this, but like with a circle, or like this. There's always an apse on the end of it. And that's where they do stuff, I guess. I don't really know. But they're there. What did I break? I didn't see. Anyway. They're really cool. Another example of medieval people reusing and repurposing old Roman buildings for their own purposes. Like, a lot of old basilicas were converted into churches. They originally had a secular purpose, but then they started using them for churches. So that's kind of one used here. The original basilica first probably had stone, like was shaped like this on this side too. There was also probably an outcrop over here. But through disrepair, this side is all broken, and this side they converted into a walkway. I don't know. Perhaps this is part of a monastery, and this is like the shaded part they walk through or something. But it's just an idea. I thought it looked cool. That was the main reason I did it. It's the main reason I do anything. And obviously this isn't finished, but just kind of an idea of where I'm taking things. I'm trying to get some ideas for future survival world I plan on building. I didn't really talk about anything about my day. It's just, this is a video journal. Work was good. Don't have a lot of interesting things to say. I watched The Batman. That was a good movie. Went and ate Panda Express with some friends a few days ago. This is a really crappy video journal I'm finding, but I think I'll start preparing some things to say in these on a piece of paper, and then I'll put them in a video format, because I'm not really talking about my life, I'm really just talking about Minecraft. This looks really cool though. I think it'll be a lot of fun to make all these in a survival world eventually. Or I'll just build in creative like I always do. Anyway,